Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a huge and often kind of hidden problem right at the heart of the technology that's changing everything: bias in artificial intelligence.
Now, that quote you're seeing, that's not from some sci-fi movie. That's a real quote about a real AI system used in healthcare in the US that was discovered to be actively discriminating. A machine made that call, and it had life-altering consequences for people.
And, that really shocking case isn't just a one-off thing, not some random glitch in the system. It's actually a symptom of a much deeper challenge that's baked into a lot of the AI we're building. It's called AI bias.
So what is AI bias, really? When you boil it all down, it's when an AI system learns from our world, and that includes all of our flaws. It then takes that knowledge and produces results that reflect and sometimes even amplify our own human prejudices, which leads to some deeply unfair results.
But how? How does a machine, a piece of code, become biased? Where does this digital prejudice even start? Let's break down where these flawed decisions are actually coming from.
Okay, to get a handle on how bias sneaks in, think of it this way. If you train a dog with really clear, fair instructions, it learns the right trick. But if you try to teach it an unfair game that has biased rules, well, someone's always going to lose. It's the exact same idea with AI.
So the first big source, it's called training data bias. This is what happens when the stuff we feed the AI to learn from is, well, it's already lopsided. For instance, some early facial recognition software was trained mostly on pictures of white men. The result? It was terrible at accurately identifying women and people of color. The AI isn't being mean. It's just learning from a really flawed textbook.
Then you've got what's called algorithmic bias. And with this one, the problem isn't just the data anymore. Now we're talking about the rules of the game themselves. Sometimes it's just a simple programming mistake. But other times, it's when a developer, maybe without even realizing it, decides that certain things, like your zip code or income, are more important than others, and they build that discrimination right into the code.
And that brings us to the last piece of the puzzle: cognitive bias. This is the human element, plain and simple. We all have our own biases, shaped by our lives, and developers can accidentally build them right into an AI. For example, if an AI is only trained on data from Western countries, it might just fail completely or act unfairly when it's used somewhere else in the world.
Okay, so we've seen where this bias comes from, but what's the real-world damage? What does it actually do? Let's take a look at the serious, widespread impact it's having on all of us right now.
Let's start with hiring. Can you believe that some AI recruiting tools were found to be throwing out perfectly qualified resumes, often from women, just because the past hiring data they learned from showed a preference for men? It's reinforcing inequality before a human even lays eyes on an application.
And then there's policing. There are these things called predictive policing algorithms, right? Well, when they're trained on biased old crime data, they can create this really dangerous feedback loop. They can point police towards over-policing minority neighborhoods, which just erodes the trust between communities and law enforcement even more.
How about getting a loan? In the world of finance, a biased credit scoring system can totally lock out entire communities from getting the loans and financial help they need. And this isn't just about one person's mortgage. It can hold back the economic progress for whole groups of people. And it even gets down to something we see every single day: online ads. It's crazy, but studies have found that algorithms were way more likely to show ads for high-paying, executive-level jobs to men than to women, just digitally reinforcing old-school stereotypes.
Wow. Okay, that all sounds pretty grim, right? But here's the good news. We are not helpless here. The whole conversation is starting to shift from just pointing out the problem to actually building the solution, what we call trustworthy AI.
So why do we need to fix this? I mean, why is this such a big deal? Well, it's about stopping real-world discrimination, for starters. It's about building public trust in these incredibly powerful technologies. And it's about making absolutely sure that AI becomes a tool that helps us, not harms us.
So the way forward. It actually involves some really clear, practical steps. Things like using diverse data that represents everybody, actively looking for and measuring bias, designing algorithms to be fair from the ground up, being open about how they work, and, this one is huge, building diverse teams that can spot biases that others might totally miss.
In all of these strategies, they're built on top of this really strong ethical foundation. You'll hear people talk about things like fairness, which is about actively getting rid of discrimination, robustness, to make sure the AI is reliable, and transparency, so we can all see what's going on under the hood. These are the absolute pillars for building AI we can trust. But here's the thing. Building ethical AI? That's not just a job for the coders and the tech gurus. This is a challenge for all of us. It involves new policies, new rules, and all of us thinking hard about the kind of future we really want. And we are seeing the big players start to move on this. You've got tech giants like IBM, Microsoft, and Google, and even governments like the European Union, all starting to create their own rulebooks and policies for creating ethical AI.
And you know what the common thread is in all of these different plans? It's a really simple but powerful idea. Put people first. The goal is to make sure AI respects human rights, that it operates under clear rules, and that it's developed out in the open, with input from all of us.
But even with all the best rules in the world, we're still going to face some incredibly tough ethical questions. I mean, just look at MIT's Moral Machine project. It basically asks people to decide what a self-driving car should do in a crash where there are no good options. And as you can probably guess, the answers are complicated.
And that really brings us to the final, and maybe the most important question that we all have to figure out together. As AI gets woven deeper and deeper into our lives, making these life or death decisions for us, who exactly gets to write its moral code?